Hello, grade 11. This is the last topic before your 7th exam. So, hydrometeorological hazards. So, hydrometeorological hazards are processes or phenomena of atmospheric, hydrological, or oceanographic in nature. Meaning, from the word itself, it is a hazard that involves water and atmospheric in nature. It involves water and something above the surface level of the earth. So it may cause loss of life. Since it's a hazard, it may cause loss of life, injury, or other health impacts. Kasi negative yung hazard eh. Since it was labeled as a hazard, it has negative impact on us. So there are the samples of hydrometeorological hazards. The tropical cyclones, these are the typhoons and hurricanes, thunderstorms, hailstorms, tornadoes, cold spells, heavy snowfalls, floods, flash floods, drought, heat waves, storm surges, avalanche, and blizzards. Hydrometeorological conditions also can be a factor in other hazards, such as landslides, wildfires, locust plagues, epidemics, and volcanic eruptions. Why is it? Because it happens in our atmosphere. At the same time, kumbaga, the scope of hydrometeor hazards is masyado siya malaki. It can affect other hazards or it can trigger other hazards. If it rained super hard, di ba magka-landslide siya? If mag-change something ang atmosphere natin at masyadong mainit, magkakaroon tayo ng wildfires. And so on and so forth. So potential hydrometeorological hazards. The following are the most common and are defined by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration or NOAA. We have the cyclones, the typhoon, flood and storm surge, tornado, flash flood, thunderstorm, El Nino, and La Nina. So what is a cyclone? Cyclone is a powerful spinning storm that contains strong winds and rain. Ano ba na siya sa Ilonggo? Think of it. Ano ba siya sa Ilonggo ang cyclone? Usually, tornado ang maisip ko eh. A cyclone is an intense low pressure. It's a low pressure system which is characterized by the strong spiral winds towards the center, called the eye, in a counterclockwise flow in the northern hemisphere. If there are tropical cyclones, di ba, makikita talaga si Kuya Kim, mag-mention siya sa tropical cyclones, yun yung may mga mata, at saka napapaikot-ikot siya. So, yung sa picture na tinuturo ni Kuya Kim, so that's the cyclone. Hazards due to tropical cyclones are strong winds with a heavy rainfall that can cause widespread flooding, flash flood, storm surges, and landslides and mud flows. When a tropical cyclone is present, we are all expecting for a long-term raining. Pag nagkaroon ng long-term raining, usually, for example, flooding areas like Davao, in just a minute, may baha talaga sa Davao. Basta matagal ang ulan, may baha talaga sa Davao. Classification of cyclones. There are 3 classifications of cyclones. There is tropical depression, maximum winds from 35 kilometers per hour to 63 kilometers per hour. Si tropical storm naman, maximum winds from 64 kilometers per hour to 118 kilometers per hour. Si typhoon is a maximum wind exceeding 118 km per hour. As you can see, it's based on how strong the wind it is as it travels along the way. Kasi these cyclones are actually traveling hasta minsan na daw matunaw siya pa. Next, what is a typhoon? A typhoon is a large, powerful, and violent tropical cyclone. As you can see, a typhoon is a kind of a cyclone. It is a tropical cyclone. For example, may remember ko dati, there is two tropical cyclones. Tapos pag nag-combine sila, you could call it a typhoon. It is a low-pressure area relating counterclockwise and containing rising warm air that forms over warm water in the West Pacific Ocean. Less powerful tropical cyclones are called tropical depression and tropical storms. A typhoon is called a hurricane in the Atlantic Ocean, a cyclone in an Indian Ocean, and willy in Australia. Typhoons can inflict terrible damage due to thunderstorms kasi ang typhoons nang ginahambal wala permiso ni Kuya Kim nga may kasabay po na pagkulog at pagkidlat because the typhoons are always or usually with thunderstorms, violent winds, torrential rain, floods, landslide, large and very big waves associated with storm surges. So ano naman si thunderstorm? A thunderstorm is a weather condition that produces lightning and thunder, heavy rainfall from cumulonimbus clouds, and possibly a tornado. It is a violent local disturbance accompanied by lightning, thunder, and heavy rain, and often by strong gusts of wind and sometimes by hail. So what's the difference with a thunderstorm and a typhoon? Because typhoon is a more on meron siyang rising warm air tsaka warm water. And it's a tropical cyclone. At the same time, typhoon, I think mas kusog si typhoon because it can damage, you can have storm surges Tsaka may violent winds and terrible damage. Meaning, nakapaloob si thunderstorm sa typhoon. When you have typhoon, pwede ka magkaroon ng thunderstorm. But if you have typhoon, it's surely you are having a thunderstorm. But if you have thunderstorm, it's a small chance or it can develop pa into a typhoon. Kumbaga, si typhoon is with thunderstorm, sila magkadikit. While thunderstorm, hindi naman necessarily na ibig sabihin nagkaroon ng typhoon. The typical thunderstorm caused by convection occurs when the sun's warmth has heated a large body of moist air near the ground. This air rises and cooled by expansion. The cooling condenses the water vapor present in the air, forming a cumulus cloud. You can actually picture this out in a book. So kasi reaction of the clouds from the heat of the sun. If we could have a book, sana mapapakita ko sa inyo, no? As the sun's warmth has heated a large body of moist air, ibig sabihin nag-ulan. May moist air, may tubig sa hangin. Tapos, lapit siya sa ground. Nagapataas na siya, Tawag sina is expansion. Then, the cooling condenses the water vapor present in the air, forming a cumulus cloud. Alam niyo naman 'di ba kung anong cumulus cloud? Tung Hi! I can actually picture that out on my head, but I don't know how to send it to you. Okay. For next is tornado. A tornado is described as a violent rotating column. Take note, tornado is a violent rotating column. It's different from a cyclone. Kasi si cyclone, hindi mo naman siya nakikita. Si tornado, nakikita mo siya visually na meron talagang rotating column of air extending from thunderstorm to the ground. Tornadoes came in many sizes. Merong maliliit, merong malalaking tornado. Are typically in the form of a visible condensation funnel. Pag sinabing condensation funnel, yung paikot-ikot, it forms a funnel. Yung anong funnel sa Ilonggo? Embodo, di ba? Diba mo na yung nga shape? Which is narrow and touches the earth. Is often encircled by a cloud of debris. Have a wide range of colors depending on the environment. Typically may appear nearly transparent and invisible until dust and debris are picked up. Meaning, the reason why nagiging gray ang isang tornado because of dust and debris. Kasi 'di ba, hinahatak kayong mga it's mga dust tsaka yung mga debris. Develop from severe thunderstorm in warm, unstable air along and ahead of cold fronts. So it started with thunderstorm. Next is flash flood. How it is a hydrometeorological hazard. Ang hirap naman i-pronounce. Hydrometeorological hazard. A flash flood is a rapid flooding of geomorphic low-lying areas like washes, rivers, dry lakes, and basins. Common causes of flash flood is because of heavy rain. This is the reason why it's part of hydrometeorological hazard. Because the reason behind flash flood is because of the atmospheric and oceanographic effect or actions. So heavy rain with severe thunderstorm, tropical storm, meltwater from ice, snow flowing or over ice sheets or snowfields, and hurricane. Flash floods may occur after the collapse of a natural ice or debris dam or a human structure such as man-made dam. Flash floods are distinguished from regular floods by a time scale of less than 6 hours. What do you mean by flash floods and normal flooding? Kasi within 6 hours, mataas na yung tubig. That is a flash flood. Mas mabilis siya ba? Unlike sa regular floods, hindi siya tumataas or normal na yung pagtaas niya. Hindi siya masyadong mabilis. Flood is the inundation of land areas which are not normally covered by water. A flood is usually caused by a temporary rise or the overflowing of river, stream, or other water course inundating adjacent land or floodplains. Temporary rise of lakes, oceans, or reservoirs, and or other enclosed bodies of water. Reservoirs is read as reservoir. So with S man siya, reservoirs. Heavy and prolonged rainfall associated with tropical cyclones, monsoons, intertropical convergence zones, or active low pressure areas. Debris jam causes a river or stream to overflow and flood the surrounding area. Floods are basically hydrological phenomena caused by storm surges and tsunami along coastal areas. Two key elements are rainfall intensity and duration. Intensity is the rate of rainfall, and duration is how long the rain lasts. That is the two elements of flooding. Kung ano kakusog ang ulan, kag ano kadugay ang ulan. That would cause a flood. Next is storm surge. Storm surge is the rise of the seawater. Si storm surge naman, focusing on the actions or the reaction of the seawater. If it will be above normal sea level, generated by the action of weather elements such as cyclonic wind and atmospheric pressure. Sea level is raised and driven towards the coast where the depth is shallow and the slope of the seabed is gradual. The natural flow of water is delayed by the effect of friction on the seabed. Nagabangga ang water, and because of that, sa coastal area, nagkakaroon ng storm surge. It's basically the rising of the seawater. As more water moves from the sea, di ba? Sabi ko, nagabangga siya. From the sea to the coast, excess water piles up on the shoreline. This piling up of water makes a large volume of water which might eventually flow into hinterland some distance from the coast. Depending upon the shape of the coastline and the slope of the seabed, storm surge can sweep across large portions of coastal areas. Ang affecting areas of storm surges actually is usually the coastal areas. Pag sinabing coastal areas, ano gani? Yung mga area malapit sa sea. Yung sa coast, sa gilid lang ng dagat. Next, we have La Nina and El Nino. Very common. If I can actually skip this on explaining, but I'll try to read it. So, El Nino and La Nina are complex weather patterns resulting from variation in ocean temperature. Meaning, ocean temperature pala. That's why El Nino and La Nina are being triggered because of climate change. Kasi nga, mainit ba si ocean or malamig ba si ocean? Kasi si ocean naman is, remember the process of rain? Diba it's a cycle between the moisture and the heat, tapos magta-travel siya sa taas, magpo-form condensation. Condensation and everything that forms the rain. So these two phenomena are opposite phases of what is known as the El Nino Southern Oscillation or the Enso Cycle. The Enso Cycle is a scientific term that describes the fluctuations in temperature between the ocean and the atmosphere in the east-central equatorial Pacific, approximately between the international dateline and 120 degrees west. So as you can see, La Nina and El Nino is because triggered of climate change talaga. Whether it's too hot or it's too cold, parang ganun. So La Nina is sometimes referred to as the cold phase of Enso, and El Nino as the warm phase of Enso. These deviations from normal surface temperatures, remember, this is a deviation from normal surface temperatures. It can have a large-scale impacts not only on ocean processes but also on global weather and climates. El Nino and La Nina episodes typically last 9 to 12 months, but some prolonged events may last years. While their frequency can be quite irregular, hindi naman siya palagi, El Nino and La Nina events occur on average every 2 at 7 years. Typically, El Nino occurs more frequently than La Nina. What do you mean by El Nino, gani? Drought, ula-ulan, diba? Signs of impending typhoon or hurricane. The general sequence of events that could occur during the development of a Category 2 typhoon and hurricane approaching a coastal area. 96 hours before landfall. At first, there aren't any apparent sign of storms. The barometer is steady. This is the tool in measuring if there will be a typhoon. Winds are light and variable, and fair weather cumulus clouds appear. 72 hours before landfall, little has changed except that the swell on the ocean surface has increased to about 6 feet and the waves come in every 9 seconds. Actually, siguro mas ma-picture out if we are living beside the sea, no? Kasi more actions of the ocean is a distinguishing factor kung anong nangyayari sa atin. Kasi sila mismo ang ocean kasi madaling maapektuhan ng hangin. And somehow these hydrometeorological hazards are always having strong winds. 48 hours before landfall. The sky is now clear of clouds, the barometer is steady, and the wind is almost calm. Thus calm, C-A-L-M. The swell is now about 9 feet and coming in every 8 seconds. What do you mean by a swell? A swell is a wave of the sea, yung wave gushing, something like that. And 9 feet, ako is 5 feet and 5 inches. That means beyond my reach. 36 hours before landfall, the first signs of the storm appear. The barometer is falling slightly. The wind is around 11 meters per hour and the ocean swell is about 13 feet. Kakatakot naman ito. 13 feet is 5, 10, 15, 3 times my height. On the horizon, a large mass of white cirrus clouds appear as the veil of clouds approaches. It covers more of the horizon. A hurricane watch is issued, and areas with long evacuation times are given the order to begin. 30 hours before landfall, the sky is covered by a light overcast. The barometer is falling at 0.1 millibar per hour. Winds pick up to about 23 miles per hour. The ocean swell coming in 5 seconds apart is beginning to be obscured by wind-driven waves and small white caps begin to appear in the ocean surface. So once again, hanggang dito lang muna tayo. The tools, kasi hindi to siya naka-include sa most essential learning competencies nyo. Your most essential learning competencies is just about knowing, understanding, and defining hydrometeorological hazards. So this is part of your exam. I hope you're fine. Enjoy your weekend. And don't worry if you have found something on your exam that is not being discussed. I am actually discarding it. Your Google Forms, I will follow up your Google Forms. Thank you.